Thank you. Hello.
Tariffs can be a useful tool in the toolbox to try and get manufacturing back up, to stop trade cheating, to stop the imports of union busters, to stop imports that are going to trash the climate. But the way that Trump is using them is such a level of, wow, malpractice
Mm.
that we're neither getting any of the potential benefits if you paired tariffs with other good policies like Biden did. So we're seeing manufacturing jobs down. We're seeing manufacturing activity down. We're seeing the trade deficit up. But then on top of that, this sort of lunacy about double, triple, quadruple promising where, it's a ton of loot. It is $200 billion worth of money. But, in the realm of things, it doesn't cut it for $2,000 for everyone. It
Yeah.
doesn't cut it for making up the difference of all of those different ways they've cross-pledged spending the money.
So I'm going to give Lori the rest of this half hour to unpack that term malpractice that she used a moment ago. I literally was reading before I came on the other day an article about Trump's global tariffs and how they have curtailed trade, a significant contraction in imports and the trade deficit that Lori Wallach just mentioned. But I'm going to give her the rest of this half hour to unpack why Trump's promise is really malpractice. You're listening to Lori Wallach on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward. Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Lori Wallach. Delighted to have Lori back on this program. Always appreciate her insights. She knows this stuff better than anybody, so I'm glad she took the phone call and agreed to come back on the program. Before I get to your use of the word malpractice and why what Donald Trump is doing here with regard to trade really is malpractice, let me just get your read on Donald Trump turning to, how might I put it, an affordability message amidst all this economic frustration. For all of his critique and all the name calling of Zohran Mamdani in that New York City mayor's race, and Donald Trump trying to put his thumb on the scale, endorsing Andrew Cuomo, we've already discussed all that stuff heretofore. But Mamdani, as we all know, won on this message of affordability. And again, for all of his critique of Mr. Mamdani, Donald Trump now is turning to a message of affordability, again, amidst all this economic frustration. Your thoughts first on Trump trying to land the plane in that regard, and then we'll talk about the malpractice piece, Lori.
He can't succeed in just telling us things are affordable, which has been the strategy so far, and or doing performative things that aren't going to make a difference to try and convince us that he's doing something about this problem. Because it does seem, don't you think, Tavis, that at a certain point he's realized he just can't convince people that red is blue and blue is red.
That's right.
And he can't just talk people into pretending they don't go to the grocery store and basically need CPR when they get to the checkout. So once, and believe me, I doubt he's rarely been in a grocery store himself. So he has not had that experience we all share.
McDonald's, yes, but grocery store, no. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, someone got through to him and said, your voters are amongst the people who are really PO'd about rent costs, the utility bills, good Lord, the groceries, and you can't talk him out of it. So then he started trying to do some performative things. So here's the one that's had me scratching my head since the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He announced he's cutting tariffs on a set of foods and some fertilizer. And I think it's supposed to make us all feel good that he's doing something. Now, it does contradict the argument that cutting tariffs, that tariffs are the cause of the higher prices, which, just for the record, although he's wrong in a lot of things, he's not totally wrong in that. Just FYI, on the technical side, because I have to watch this as a recovering trade attorney, it does come to pass, if you look at the data, that actually a lot of the tariff costs are actually being eaten by the exporting countries' companies, which is to say they want to keep this U.S. market. The only upside of having a $1.2 trillion annual trade deficit, disastrous, is that everyone has to sell stuff to you because there's no other place to go quick that can absorb that if they say, oh, I'm not going to pay those tariffs. So, in fact, cutting tariffs where there are tariffs may not bring down prices. Some cases it might. However, The things he announced he's cutting tariffs on include a bunch of things where there are no dang tariffs. So everyone saw the big announcement. He's cutting tariffs on tomatoes and beefs. And, ladies and gentlemen, 98% of tomatoes coming into the U.S. come from Mexico, about 85%, or Canada. And those are duty-free already under the USMCA agreement. So we're talking about cutting tariffs that don't exist. Same thing with beef. About 40, almost 50, 40 last year, 44%. Between 40 and 50% of beef comes from Canada and Mexico. Duty-free already under the USMCA agreement, because the exception to all those tariffs is stuff that actually meets that old, NAFTA 2.0 agreement. That stuff's still duty-free. The next big chunk of it, another third of our imports come from Argentina. Guess what? He already cut the tariffs on beef in Argentina. Some more phantom tariff cutting. Now, obviously, there will be tariff cuts that are real for things like bananas and coffee, cocoa. But here's the problem. Big part of the cost rising there isn't about the tariffs, because those prices went up before Trump and the tariffs. It's about corporate concentration. I mean, dang, 85% of all banana sales in the U.S. are controlled by 3 companies. I'm not so sure Del Monte, Dole, and Chiquita, just because, oh, look, I use tariffs to raise prices, and I've been doing it before there were tariffs too. Do you think those prices are coming down? He's going to have to deal, if he really wants to do affordability, he's going to have to do the real thing. He's going to have to go after the price gougers and make it a crime like it should be. And he's going to have to bust up some of these corporate monopolies. And then we might see prices come down.
Yep. Let me before I get to our practice piece, let me come back to this price gouging. How bad has that gotten?
Oh, it's crazy bad. I mean, but it's not just this round of Trump. I mean, there has been, since Trump won, a lot of people have been tracking the use of tariffs as cover to raise prices. So, we all as consumers are being told, which again, hello, here's your friendly recovering trade attorney. Warning, this is not typically true. Tariffs do not always raise prices. You hear that all the time. They sometimes do, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a 1 + 1 = 2. So we've been marinated in years now of the mainstream media saying tariffs raise prices. So when a company says I have to raise prices because of tariffs, we all say, oh, dang, it's those tariffs. But here's the classic, my personal favorite example is, remember during Trump won, everyone was screaming about how Trump's tariffs have raised the prices of washing machines and dryers. But there's just one little thing. There never were tariffs on dryers. So once the press went around saying that, the manufacturers decided, well, dang, everyone thinks we're going to raise prices. Let's make some more profits. And they did. The prices definitely went up. So you can look at the consumer price index, prices went up. There were no dang tariffs on dryers. And so, for instance, right now, you see a lot of companies claiming that they have to raise prices on tariffs. Most Americans don't know that about half of our imports are on an exceptions list. They either are coming from Mexico, where we have a huge trade deficit, a lot of stuff comes in, and that stuff is still duty-free under the old NAFTA 2.0, or it's under a list of things that are duty-free from when Trump announced the tariffs. So most Americans are not doing what I have to do on the regular, which is digging through all these long, what are called tariff code identifiers, and figuring out, is there a tariff there? Isn't there a tariff there? Because look, the price went up. I've seen so many cases where the price goes up and there is no dang tariff. Yeah. Companies get away with it. Yep. And they don't bring them back down, even if the tariffs go away.
Of course not. I know this is going to sound ludicrous to you, but let me just play with me for a second here, Lori. So there's a way in which, in my mind at least, and maybe it's just in my mind, there's a way in which Trump would benefit, although I'm not expecting this, there's a way he would benefit from saying to these corporations who are doing this price gouging and blaming the tariffs for it, there's a way he'd benefit by just chin checking them. Say, hold up. No. You don't need to raise your pricings on the American people. Tariffs are not the cause of this. My point is that Donald Trump is no Lori Wallach. He's nowhere near as bright as you are. But the people around him are fully aware of what you just laid out. It seems to me he could gain some points by, again, chin checking these corporations who are engaged in this price gouging, even as he continues to advance his agenda. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, sir. The problem is his true colors come out with who he bullies.
Now we getting, this is getting good. Go ahead, Lori Wallach. This is getting good.
So here's the thing that really chaps my hide. He's got these tariffs he's running around using as lightning bolts. Like, it's not even that he's using as a hammer. You know, Democratic and Republican presidents have a lot of power around the world, and they threaten countries, and they have things to threaten with. He's gone like all Zeus-like. He's like godlike. He's like going lightning bolt use of tariffs, which is, I will sizzle your entire country if you don't do X, Y, Z. So I'm going to just flatten you with tariffs.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's willing to bully and demand things. And here's what he's demanding. Now, mind you, we all know, and all your listeners know, for all the rotten things that man campaigned on, something everyone could get behind was his claiming he was going to rebuild U.S. manufacturing. That is a real dang problem. That is no joke. We have lost more than 40,000 factories in the last 30 years. We have lost net over 6 million manufacturing jobs. We saw during COVID, we cannot make essential things we need just for our own resilience and security. Like, we have been de-industrialized by decade after decade of ginormous trade deficits. That is an honest to God problem. I don't care what party you're in. Someone's got to dang fix that. Okay. So he gets elected claiming that, and he gets a lot of working class folks of all races and regions to vote for him, saying he's going to do that. So he takes out his lightning bolts of tariffs, and he starts chucking them at countries. And what is he demanding? Special doodads for big tech. He's telling those other countries, get rid of your privacy laws, get rid of your anti-monopoly laws, help my buddies who paid for the inauguration. I am the bully boy for sure, and you're going to get a tariff upside the head. But when I throw that thing at you, the way you get relief, it's not to, like, stop trade cheating. It's not to stop dumping slave labor goods on us. Oh, no, it's to help my big tech buddies who hang out at the White House. And same thing for big pharma. I mean, Tavis, one of the things that's so expensive for people, as you and I know, is medicine. Is he basically saying to those guys, all right, you guys, the party's over. I can do X, Y, Z, extremely unfortunate things to you. I mean, just for instance, the U.S. government is the biggest single purchaser of pharmaceutical products, either direct purchases through the VA hospital system and what's called TRICARE, which is the medical system for active military folks, or through reimbursement programs with Medicare, Medicaid, etc. So does he say, y'all, you either cut these prices, which, you know, they have a monopoly. They're jacking up the prices. The pills cost pennies to make, and they charge us $100 a pill. You guys either going to have to bring that down or else the party's over. No. Instead, he goes overseas and he tells other countries, you're going to get a tariff upside the head if you don't make your national healthcare systems pay my pharma guys higher prices for their medicines. Seriously. That's what he's using the leverage for. So it is who you're going to bully. Yeah. And it's clearly been demonstrated it's not working people. Yeah. It's not all of us who are working people who are consumers. It's his, you know, basically, it's his oligarchic buddies. Yeah. I mean, it's not even the normal sort of, you know, small businesses, I'll help you, I'm a Republican. The small businesses are turning to the Democrats to say, oh my God, he's helping all the biggest monopolies that crush us too. We're Main Street. We're not these big multinationals who can help him build his ballroom and do his fancy gold crusted in his inauguration. So it really is who you're going to bully. Yeah. And, you know, he's being a bully for the big guys, and he's basically not using the tariffs for any of the things he promised. Yeah.
I knew it was too much like right when I asked it. It was too much like right then, but I want to just put it out there because it made sense to me as a strategy of his, but I understand why he would never use that strategy against these price gougers. And to your point about these tech giants, all his buddies, they were all at the White House last night for that state dinner for the Saudi prince, including Elon Musk. So I guess they're on speaking terms now again, that Elon Musk was at that dinner, the world's richest person, last night. I've got 4 minutes left, Lori. I want to give it all to you. You've already done some of this, but just put a final point on why all of this that we have been discussing, to your word at the outset, is Donald Trump engaging essentially in malpractice.
Well, you know, you can use a tariff as part of a policy package, sometimes called industrial policy, where the tariffs, for instance, keep out goods that are being made unfairly, trade cheating. So things like you drop the currency value in another country, it makes things artificially cheaper when they sell it to you, and it's too expensive to send them any exports, etc. So there are all kinds of, ways you can use tariffs to counteract that. Labor rights are enforced when they're enforced in a trade agreement by tariffs. If you don't allow independent unions to have decent wages in that country, then the good comes in, it gets tariff. So there are all kinds of kosher ways to use tariffs. The problem is that's not what Trump is using tariffs for. And the things, as I said, he's asking for aren't things going to make things better for U.S. working people. And so, not shockingly, since Trump came back in, we've seen basically manufacturing activity actually in the U.S. go down. And the U.S. Census Department, that's out of the Commerce Department, keeps this data. And if you even just look at the first 6 months of Trump, so through July, we had dropped manufacturing activity by about $500 million. So, his promise was it would increase.
Yeah.
Some people thought it'd be kind of flat. No, it's actually going down. Similarly, since he came back in, we have lost 33,000 manufacturing jobs. He promised new ones. Maybe it was going to be flat and he couldn't deliver on more. No, we're in the hole. And that is because, number one, he's misdirecting the tariffs. And then he's making all these deals. The guy just loves to make a deal, apparently. So, here's the thing. We should have tariffs on automobiles.
Right.
The United States is one of the rare countries in the world where we do not produce, as a major auto producer, we do not produce we produce only a fraction of what we buy. So most countries in the world that are major car producers, they produce more than they actually need. Yeah. So Germany produces 130 cars for every 100 they sell there. So they're exporting a lot. Mexico, 260 cars for every 100 that someone in Mexico buys. Mm-hmm. We have about 60 we make for the 100 we buy. So we're very import laden, and we've seen lots of really good manufacturing jobs in the both auto assembly, but that whole supply chain, and all the innovation gets shot down. Okay, you should have tariffs there. Instead, Trump keeps putting away the tariffs that he did put in on autos, which was a smart move, and the Auto Workers Union praised him. He's been throwing them away. So he's given away the tariffs, cut them on autos for a lot of countries for these deals for the big tech dudes and for the big pharma guys. Yeah. And so as a result, we are seeing manufacturing declining. We are seeing manufacturing jobs declining. And then he's gone out, and Tavis, he actually killed all the other parts of the policies you need to have the tariffs work. The tariffs are your defense. Yeah. But remember how we saw the biggest, in 2023, we saw the biggest investment in manufacturing plants the U.S. had in 30 years. What the heck was that? Now, most Americans didn't know it. Biden didn't get any dang credit for it. Yeah. But why? Because they'd done all these other cool policies where you all as a consumer get a tax credit if you buy an American-made electric vehicle, if you buy solar panels made in America. That was a boom. We're doing it wrong now. Yeah. We need to do it a different way.
Do it a different way. We'll leave it there. I'm out of time. I want to have a lawyer back on there, talk more about what that different way looks like. This story is not over yet. And we'll get Lori back on at a later time. Lori, thanks for your insights as always. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. And if folks want more details, rethinktrade.org, or I'm on X as Wallach Lori, and I'm on every day.
I love it. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.